Hello and welcome to a Sky Overhaul special. So this week we're going to be looking at the fixtures for the next month or so, players to own, and a bit of team building as well. So looking back to my team, game week 24, I think most people had a rotten game week, but it was really the guys at the back, really, who got the points last week. I think having the combination of Laporte and Van Dijk helped tremendously last time, especially having Van Dijk as captain and him scoring a goal, and I think that alone sent me up like 700 places or something ridiculous. It just goes to show, really, it only takes one or two players, one good captaincy, and it can send you flying up the ranks, so I'm really happy with that. I also think at the time Laporte's ownership was only about 25% or something, and now he's quickly heading towards 60% owned, so he's no longer going to be that sort of nice differential. I enjoyed having him when he was, more lowly owned. I don't blame everyone for getting him either, though, because he's just been so good. He gets the passing tiers nearly every game. I think he's got more attacking threat than Diaz as well. He's had a few unlucky decisions that have gone against him as well. A couple of goals ruled out. There was one week where he got a couple of assists. They were counted for in FPL but not in Sky because of, obviously it's a bit different, but he's in the right places in the right time. He's such a great player and I hope he keeps his place. I mean, why would Pep drop him at the moment? It's just that fear of Champions League rotation coming up, but still. And with Van Dijk, he's been a bit unlucky as well, I think, because he missed 2 games back in December, I think it was, due to COVID. So if he hadn't have missed those games, I reckon he'd be a good 20 or 30 points ahead of Trent. But it's that fear of not owning Trent and potentially getting hurt when you don't own him. But it's worked out so far, just having Van Dijk. Ideally, I'd like to have both Trent and Van Dijk, but the problem is Liverpool do blank in about 3 weeks' time, I think it is. So that's a bit off-putting to have the double, but it's also so tempting as well. Looking at the Liverpool fixtures just now, I see they play Leicester, Burnley and Norwich the next 3 games. And then even after that, they've got West Ham, Brighton, Man United, Watford. It's a pretty decent run, really. So I see there's been quite a debate between Nick Pope and David De Gea. I think I'll be starting with Nick Pope. I'll actually have a look at his ownership just before the first game kicks off and go from there. If only David De Gea and Man United could start keeping clean sheets, there's no doubt that David De Gea would be absolutely flying top as goalkeeper who scored most points. The fact that he's so high up already, he's the 4th highest goalkeeper with the amount of clean sheets that they've kept. Maybe there's an argument there to go with De Gea instead of Pope. David De Gea is the only Man United player I really want for that double, if any Man United players at all. I don't really fancy Ronaldo at the moment, and not Bruno Fernandes either. So far, no matter what goalkeeper I end up with, I'm probably going to be bringing back in Ramsdale, and a good day to do that is Sunday the 6th of March, as Arsenal have a 3 for 2 over a lot of teams, I think, if not every team. March will also be a really good time to bring back in your Chelsea defenders, maybe 1 or 2. I am tempted with Thiago Silva this time as well. He seems to be more nailed on than I first thought he would be. He seems to be playing most games. Would be nice to pair him up with Rudiger. So I'm very tempted to go with a Brighton player right from the overhaul. I know that they blank the first lot of games, but the fact that they've got 2 makes up for it anyway. Hopefully Dunker's going to be back, because I'd like to own him again. I just think he's got that bit more over Webster, really. But then Webster is a good cheap enabler. But whenever I check Sky Bet and Play to have a look at the passes made and stuff, Dunk is always up there. He's almost reached tier 2 by about half time in a lot of games. So he starts on 5 points every game. He's brilliant. So the one area in my team that I'm finding really difficult to know what to do with really is obviously strikers. Salah's going to be there. He's going to be there for everyone, but it's whether to have a second striker or not. Who do you pick at the moment as well? Harry Kane's picked up a good bit of form, but then I'm also looking at Edouard. He's only 0.5% owned, which is quite strange really, because he's a beast. I mean, he could have had a few more against Liverpool as well, and Crystal Palace have been so good. Really good attacking side now. They can do it against the big boys now as well, that's for sure. So Harry Kane, he faces Southampton, Wolves, Man City, Leeds and Everton. I think Southampton's going to be quite a tough game. Wolves is definitely going to be a very tough game. They barely concede any chances, yet alone goals. City, that's going to be really tough. I'm just wondering how many points Harry Kane can really get out of those games. So the next couple of games for Crystal Palace are Norwich, Brentford, Chelsea, Burnley, Wolves and City. Two of the big boys in there, but I actually seen that his ownership's gone up to 0.9% now, so that's interesting. Another decision I'm thinking about is if I don't have a second premium striker, maybe I could invest that in the midfield, as in Kevin De Bruyne. Even though with the Champions League games coming up in February, it is a bit of a rotation risk, but he should play the majority of those games, I think, if not come off the bench. He's been so good. I've been weighing up whether he could possibly outscore any sort of premium striker. There is also still Antonio for that second striker position, but I don't know, he's not been great. He's been getting a few assists here and there, but most of us have Bowen anyway, so I've got West Ham covered. As things stand, I'm going to own Rafinha straight from the Overhaul, I think, and there is a 3-for-1 over a Leicester opportunity from the 26th of Feb to the 12th of March. Also, something else I'm debating is whether to own James Ward-Prowse from the Overhaul. The thing that puts me off a bit is they play Tottenham, Man United and Everton. I'm just thinking maybe it's better to bring him in on the 25th against Norwich, and then if you look at the games to the 2nd of the 4th, Leeds there, so you got Norwich, Aston Villa, Watford, Burnley and Leeds there, so maybe that's a better time to bring him in rather than starting him from the Overhaul. Or I end up not owning him at all and just skipping the game really. I haven't looked into March in too much detail yet, but I do see that Wolves have a good run from the 5th all the way up to about the 30th of April. That looks a decent run of games really. I'm considering a Wolves player maybe for that period as well. So these are the two teams that I put together so far. I'm going to be tinkering for the next couple of days, that's for sure, but I think I'm going to have a selection there of highly owned players, but they're highly owned for a reason, and maybe one or two slightly differentials in there, possibly with, I don't know, Kevin De Bruyne or Edouard, or even Brighton at the moment seem a differential looking at the players' ownerships. So ideally I'd like to have a nice combination of rising up the ranks but also keeping my mini-league rivals at bay. With my mini-league I've already got a 170 point lead, which is quite nice to sort of play around with at the moment, and keep them as far back as possible, but I also want to do something a bit different as well, you know, make it exciting. So yeah, that's about it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please do give a like and subscribe. Really appreciate it. And good luck to everyone, and I'll see you again soon.